How's going guys, welcome to the channel. In this video we are gonna see, what if Naruto was the son of Tobirama, part 1. If you wants to see awesome fanfiction like this, don't forget to subscribe. Now let's get into the video. It was several years after the Nidaime stepped into office. He has led his village for those years as his brother before. To ensure that the village shall be a village of peace and prosperity. The only thing he could never understand of his brother was the love he had for his family. Tobirama was a bachelor and proud of it. But every now and then, he would have thoughts on what it would be like to have a family of his own. And that is where this begins. Tobirama stared in abstract horror at his personal Anbu guard. The only Kunoichi on the team to be exact. "What?" he asked. "I'm pregnant," she said. He ran his hands through his hair, trying to think on how he would deal with this. He knew how it happened, of course. One too many drinks, a fierce spar, and kissing led to what had happened. Even with the alcohol, he could remember it vividly. "If it's that much trouble, then I'll get an abortion," she said and started to leave the room. It had snapped him out of his thoughts. "Wait." Her hand was on the doorknob when he called out to her. She turned to see him approaching her. "You are not getting an abortion. Even if I think I'm not ready for something like this, a part of me is excited and wants to see this through. I always wanted to be a dad. Who knows, maybe I like being a father." The Kunoichi had tears coming out of her mask. She was crying in relief that she can keep the child. She moved her mask and locked lips with her Hokage. 8 months later. "I'll kill you for doing this to me, you son of a bitch. I don't care if you're my Hokage, I'm going to castrate you," screamed the Nidaime's lover. "Come on honey, push. You're almost there," said Tobirama, trying to ignore his hand being crushed by his lover. "Shut up. You have no idea she was cut off when she went through some more contractions." A couple more pushes later, and the room was assaulted with the cries of a newborn. The nurse took the child, cut the umbilical cord, and wrapped him in a blanket. She handed the newborn to the Nidaime. He took his son with slightly trembling hands. "Look darling. Our son," he said, happiness alight in his voice. He handed him to her as she stretched her tired arms for her child. "I'm so happy," she said in a tired voice. "He looks just like you," she continued. Indeed the child did. He had the Nidaime's hairstyle, though it seemed spikier, 4 triangles on his face, 2 on each cheek, and his father's pale tan complexion. The only thing he seemed to receive from his mother was a pair of yellow gold eyes and whitish blue hair. "What should we name him?" asked Tobirama. His lover, Yukifuri, looked at her son. "Naruto. His name is Naruto," she said with finality. "A good name," said the Nidaime, before he looked at his lover and noticed she seemed paler than a few moments ago. "Honey?" he asked. Her heart monitor went flat as she closed her eyes, still holding on to little Naruto who had begun to cry, sensing something wrong with his mother. "Nurse. Doctor. Anybody, we need help," screamed the Nidaime as he took Naruto. The nurse and doctors rushed in, trying to save what they believed the Nidaime's secret wife. It would be 10 minutes later that Tobirama received the news. His lover, the one he was going to actually propose to, Yukifuri, has passed. Over the next few days he was inconsolable. The only thing keeping him together is his son. "Don't worry Naruto," he said, "Daddy's here. And he's not going anytime soon." 14 years later. Naruto had grown into a handsome young man. He wore armor similar to his father, fur and all. The only difference is the color scheme. While his father's is a pale blue, Naruto's had crashing waves and falling snow. It was so well integrated in the armor that when he walked it looked like it was moving. His father spent as much time raising him as he did in his office. He started teaching Naruto as soon as he could walk properly. At a young age, they found out Naruto had 3 affinities. They were a high water affinity like his father, a high earth affinity, making Mokuton would release possible, and a high wind affinity. It was after this that Tobirama had decided to tell his son about his mother. Flashback. Naruto stood before his father. He was at the tender age of 6 and his training in the elements had just begun. He was here because his father said he had something to tell him. "Dad?" he asked. "Naruto," began his father, "I think it's time you know of your mother." Naruto went wide-eyed at this. He always wondered who his mother was. "Your mother was a wonderful woman and a greater Kunoichi. She was part of my personal guard. She loved those close to her and defended them greatly. She believed that those you hold close to you are precious and only when protecting those precious to you will you become truly strong. She had white hair that flowed into blue, yellow gold eyes like yours, a cute nose, full lips, a big heart, and an equally big cough." He stopped and looked at his son for a moment before realizing what he was doing. "Anyways," he said quickly, "your mother was a wonderful person. And if it wasn't for you, I never would have noticed. I thank you for that. She could be as kind to her friends as she was cold to her enemies. You see son, she wasn't a native of Hai no Kuni, Fire Country, she was a member of the Yuki clan from Kiri, Mist. She came here after and she was banished by Kiri for showing compassion to her enemies when they couldn't fight. She was found near death from starvation at the gates. We took her in and gave her her second chance. She did everything she could to repay us for our kindness and eventually found herself as one of my guards. Now what you need to understand is the Yuki clan. They had a Kaikeke Genkai blood limit that gifted those that could awaken it with the ability to wield ice. Your mother could, just like I believe you can too. You also have the ability to unlock Mokuton like Hashirama Nai, but you'll have to work hard. Don't take handouts or you'll never get strong. These are the beliefs your mother had and I want you to follow them, but don't emulate them or you can lose yourself. Understand? Naruto nodded. Hi Tusan. Tobirama smiled and ruffled Naruto's hair. Then flashback. As Naruto grew, he learned and trained till he ached in both mind and body. He did have Hyutin, Ice Release and Mokuton, though the last one was known only to Naruto and father. Naruto had unlocked Mokuton when he almost got hit by one of his father's moves by accident. And he unlocked the Hyutin when he went with his father to a meeting with the Nidaime Raikage, Second Lightning Shadow, about a peace treaty. They were attacked by Kinkaku and Ginkaku, the Gold and Silver brothers, when they attempted a coup d'etat. Naruto had engaged both of them and fought them for 3 minutes before being defeated. Normally this isn't long, but when a second can turn a battle and both were Kage level or higher, it was pretty damn impressive. He had gained their respect and they had gifted him with 2 of their weapons. One from each. Ginkaku had gifted him with the Shichisaken, 7-star sword, and Ginkaku had gifted him the Benihisago, Crimson Gourd, after their coup failed. Both weapons had actually shrank to accommodate his size. Only recently could he wield both at the same time. He had even took over as substitute sensei for his father's team when his dad was swamped with work. He saw promise in all, but there was something off with Hamura and Kaharu. They seemed almost fanatical about Konoha being the best and Hiruzen almost became like them, but he took care of that with an ass kicking. His father has said that by himself, Naruto is Anbu level and with his weapons and bloodline, he could take the hat, though Naruto saw little interest in it after seeing a whole day in the office. We now see Naruto standing in the training grounds of his family, drawing something in the ground. From the ground, it looked like a bunch of squiggles all over. But from the air, or more specifically, the third-story balcony of the house, it looked like a finely drawn water dragon coiling on itself. It was a large seal Naruto had come up with from his studies from Mito Bachin. It was an experimental seal, and even the theory is shaky at best. What he said it will do is to seal away a living person in stasis until release. It would also allow the one sealed inside to absorb chakra from the air to sustain the seal and slowly expand their own chakra. What makes it even better is it also allows the sealed one to hear the ongoings out of the seal. It was made to seal one of their own and send them into an enemy stronghold before being retrieved so as to relay all they learned. The first shinobi world war was raging on and Konoha needed an edge. Naruto had just finished when he sees his father come out. "Are you sure about using yourself, Naruto?" asked his understandably fearful father. "Yes, Tusan. Don't worry, I'm too stubborn to die," Naruto said. His father smiled and nodded before handing his son the sealing scroll that the seal will transfer to. He gave Naruto a hug and stepped out of the seal. Naruto ran through the extensive set of hand seals when a Kumo shinobi came out of the trees. "Die!" the man yelled. Tobirama reacted by throwing a kunai and impaling it in the man's brain, but it was too late. The seal was activated and the man had scuffed up a couple lines. The seal glowed, Naruto locked eyes with Tobirama and everything went white. A while later, Tobirama woke up in the hospital room reserved for the Hokage and his family. What happened, he asked no one. The door opened and in came Mito Uzumaki. She had a downcast expression. It didn't bode well, whatever it was she was to tell him. This he knew. He only saw this face twice. The first time when Madara defected and the second when Hashirama died. "What is it?" he asked. "Tobi-kun, you should rest more." No. I know that face. Tell me what's wrong. "I need to know," he said firmly. She looked down and started to cry. "Naruto's gone," she said. The world seemed to stop. "What?" he breathed out. When the Kumo shinobi attacked, he had scuffed the ground where one of the lines were. It had erased that part and upset the seal's integrity, causing it to implode. "I'm sorry, truly I am," she said. Tobirama looked down, tears streaming down his face. "Was there anything left?" he asked. She hesitated before nodding. She came up to him and handed him a sealing scroll and a bandana with a leaf symbol embroidered in it. Naruto never liked the headbands, so he had a specially designed bandana that he would wear on his head or to cover his mouth and nose. Tobirama thanked her as she left. After that day, he threw himself into his work to escape the pain. But he always did have a nagging suspicion, more like a feeling, that Naruto was still alive, though he just thought it wishful thinking. He never knew that Naruto was alive and well, sealed inside the scroll. It was a mix of bad good luck that had it work. He achieved what he wanted it to in a different way. Instead of being in a pocket dimension connected to the scroll, he was sealed into a plain white area. Problem was that no one could look at the scroll without coming to tears. And since no one was willing to destroy it, it and his bandana were sealed together in the forbidden scroll of seals. All the while Naruto trained inside what he has started to call limbo, never aging, never fully knowing what has happened, nor how long time shall pass. 60 years later. A young girl with blonde hair and twin pigtails and wearing a neon orange jumpsuit around the age of 12 was jumping through the trees with a forbidden scroll on her back. This was Natsumi Uzumaki, and she had just stolen the forbidden scroll so as to pass her makeup exam. All she had to do was to steal it, learn one of its jutsu, show it to her sensei Mizuki, and she'll pass. Easy as pie. Security was lax. The Hokage had gone off for one reason or another, and being ignored by the secretary and Anbu in the tower made this even easier. She landed in the designated area and unrolled the scroll. Shadow clones. Damn it all. Of course it would be my worst subject. So I guess I'll just get this over with, she said to herself. 2 hours later. Itsumi was lying on the ground panting with a smile on her face. She had succeeded in completing the Kage Bunshin. She took a breath and decided to peruse through the scroll to see if she can find anything else. She skimmed through it till she almost reached the bottom. Dang. Nothing else. She wondered to herself. That was when she reached the bottom. There was a picture of what looked like a water dragon coiling on itself. There was a warning that she ignored that told all that this was a seal containing items of a very respected individual and should be left alone. She had read up to the part of the respected person then stopped. She touched the seal to get it to open, but nothing happened. She frowned and tried again. When nothing happened, she thought back to the only time sealing was discussed. What did Iruka-sensei say again? She thought. To activate some seals, one needs to channel chakra into it, came Iruka's voice. Nodding to herself, she touched the seal again and channeled chakra. There was a poof, some smoke, and the sound of an item landing on the floor. She coughed and waved her hand to disperse the smoke. When it had cleared, she found another scroll with a blue bandana wrapped around it. She picked it up and unwrapped the bandana and unrolled the scroll. There was a seal on this scroll as well. She shrugged and added more chakra to see what the scroll contained. There was another poof, more smoke, she feared for a second of secondhand smoke, and a thud. She waited for the smoke to clear and when it did, she had an atomic blush. There lying on the ground was Naruto Yuki Senju, though she didn't know that. He was unconscious. She made sure that he was asleep and not dead, just in case. She had started to weave her fingers through his hair, enjoying how soft his hair is. She was taken out of her thoughts when Iruka came into the clearing. Natsumi. What do you think you are doing? He yelled. Kaya. She screamed in fright. Oh, it's just you Iruka-sensei. You nearly gave me a heart attack. Besides, I'm here for the makeup exam. Iruka was startled at what she said. Makeup exam? He wondered aloud. Well, she seems to have been training, he thought. Indeed she did, what with her slightly messed up hair, scrapes, and dirt smudges. Natsumi-chan, what are you talking about? There's no makeup exam. Of course there is. Mizuki-sensei told me all about it. Now you want to see my new jutsu? She said. Mizuki? He asked, before the sound of wind being cut sounded. Iruka knew the sound well. He threw himself in front of Natsumi as several shuriken embedded themselves into his back. Gah. He stumbled from the unexpected pain. He turned to see Mizuki standing there, twirling a few shuriken. I didn't expect to see you here, Iruka. It's too bad, if you had just minded your own business then you wouldn't have to die. Mizuki? Why are you doing this? Iruka shouted in confusion. Mizuki laughed. Isn't it obvious? To kill the QB bitch and gain power. Is there any other reason? Iruka couldn't believe it. His best friend betrayed their village and their friendship. Worst, he took advantage of a young individual's need for acknowledgement by using them to get what he wanted and leaving them with the blame. Now do me a favor and die. Shouted the traitor at the end. Iruka closed his eyes, waiting for the end. But nothing happened. After a few seconds, he opened his eyes to see an armored person holding the shuriken through the hole and yawning. Everyone was stunned. Natsumi because she was sure he was out of it, Iruka and Mizuki because they didn't notice him. The newest person to this fiasco snapped his jaw shut and rubbed the sleep out of his eyes. He took quick stock of the situation and came to his own conclusion. Let me guess, he started, someone got power hungry, used someone else, and it now has come to the climactic clash. When no one moved for the first few seconds he asked, am I in the ballpark? Mizuki snapped out of it first and sneered. Why are you helping her? He asked, pointing at Natsumi. Naruto just looked at him oddly. Is there a reason I shouldn't? He asked. Mizuki laughed at this turn of events. So you don't know. Well then, I guess I'll do my job and teach you. Iruka caught on fast. Mizuki don't. He was ignored. 12 years ago the great Kyubi no Kitsune, nine-tailed fox, attacked Konoha. We threw everything at it, but nothing worked. That is when the Yondaime appeared on the battlefield and fought the demon. But despite what the kids are told, the Yondaime couldn't kill the fox. No one could. So he sealed it away into a newborn baby girl. The only baby born that night. Here he points at Natsumi. You're the Kyubi no Kitsune, sealed away by our beloved Yondaime. He weakened you by placing you in a human body so that we can finish what we started. But the blasted Sandaime was manipulated by your illusions and has forbidden anyone from harming you. But not tonight. I will finish what the fourth started and kill you. Die. At the end he threw his last Fuma shuriken at Natsumi, who stood stock still at what was revealed. Haruka was about to take the blow for her when Naruto intercepted it again. That'll be enough of that. Apparently you should have studied seals if you actually believed what you just said. But I can see that you won't be dissuaded from your beliefs, so I shall end this farce, he said firmly. Before Mizuki could taunt him on how he could finish this, Naruto disappeared and reappeared behind him with the Fuma shuriken folded and rammed through his sternum. His body fell and Naruto jumped down. Now, he began, I believe that introductions are needed. I guess introductions are in order, said Naruto. Natsumi and Haruka were still in shock at what had happened. Hello? Asked Naruto. It's like they've never seen something like this. What the hell has happened while I was gone? He thought. He didn't have much time to ponder when an Anbu, obviously female, with a Nico cat mask appeared. All eyes turned to her. She observed the one she was sent to retrieve and noted that Mizuki was dead, a Fuma shuriken impaling him. She turned back to Haruka, seeing as he is the highest ranked person that she knew on the field. Haruka Yamino, what has happened? She asked. Haruka relayed what he had seen and heard after he had arrived. Nico nodded and ordered two of her subordinates to come out of the trees. Tora, Tiger, take Yamino-san to the hospital to get his injuries treated. Phoebe, Snake, take the forbidden scroll and head to the tower. I shall take these two to the Hokage for his judgment. The two nodded and carried out their tasks. She placed her hands on the two kids and Sunshine to the Hokage tower. They arrived to see Hebe hand the scroll over to the Hokage, who nodded in thanks. He turned to see the newcomers. Nico had no expression thanks to the mask. Natsumi was nervous and angry, but it was the newcomer who drew his attention the most. He had a horrified expression on his face. Can I help you, young man? He asked. Hiro-chan, why are you so old? Asked the young man. Nico choked on her laugh. Natsumi had burst out laughing and Hiruzen was ticked at what he was called. But before he could refute, he paused to think. Hiro-chan. Only Tobirama-sensei called me that. That meant his S. No. It couldn't be possible. Naruto-sensei. The proclaimed Naruto smiled. Well, it's good to see your age hasn't affected your mind, Hiro-chan. Now he was cut off when Natsumi burst out. Wait a minute. Old man, how do you know on Naruto? She questioned at the end to receive a nod. Hiruzen sighed and lit his pipe. A long time ago, when I was just starting out as a genin, my sensei was the Nidaime Hokage, Tobirama Senju. What no one knows, more like don't remember, is that he has a son. Naruto-kun here. He even served as my team sensei when Tobirama sensei was too busy with his duties as Hokage. He was powerful. There is no other word for it. By the time he was 10, he could take on most of our Anbu. When he was 11, he had faced and held off for 3 minutes the Gold and Silver brothers, earning their respect. By the time he was 12 he had mastered water release and was an expert with ice release. When he was 14, he was a force to be reckoned with. He had beat me down every time he believed I had become too big for my britches. I believe I still have the scars to prove it. He had disappeared, believed to be dead, when he had tried an experimental seal that was messed up by a surprise attack by a Kumo shinobi. No one knows the specifics, but after that Tobirama sensei had shrunken into himself before getting his luster back a year and a half later, saying that you were still alive. I'm going to be honest, how did you survive? In fact, how are you the same age? Naruto had smiled through the explanation, snickered about his teaching methods, became downcast about his father, then settled on a slight grin. He then took the time to explain what had happened, but left out that he heard everything that was in hearing distance of the scroll, and the fact that he has continued to train to where he is now probably equivalent to the actual Sanbi in chakra capacities. Hiruzen sat back and thought. You know, said Naruto, what needs to happen, correct? Hiruzen sent him a questioning glance. Remember, even for all my power and skills, I was still a genin. And now this one, he points at Natsumi, has just made genin, so I suggest you put us on the same team. Understand? Hiruzen was going to refute him, but caught the look in Naruto's eyes. It was the look he has only seen when he was going to get a beating. Give me one good reason why Natsumi should become a genin. Naruto immediately says, from what you have told me, the one that I killed, Mizuki, was one of her teachers. And he used her as a pawn in his scheme to get the scroll. It appeared to me that he first needed Natsumi-chan here to fail first, so that she would be willing to do almost anything to become genin. I wouldn't put it past him to have tampered with her test so she would fail. Tell me what the graduation test is, and I'll point out where he could have struck. He listened intently as the graduation exam was explained, never changing his stoic facial expression. The first words out of his mouth was, "What the fuck? How the hell does knowing what Hashirama is Mokuten do affect someone being a ninja? And how the hell is your entire graduation come down to 3 jutsu? You're training barely trained tour guides is what it sounds like. You're taking kids, do the minimal amount of training, then throwing them out into the world without a word of warning. Who the hell is in charge of the curriculum?" "The council is," said the third. Naruto gives him a scandalized look. "Why? Why are civilians dealing with shinobi affairs? Why are they in charge of a ninja school? What were you thinking?" Hiruzen looked down at what he said because he knew it was true. After the QB attack, the council took advantage of the small moment between the fourth's death and my reinstatement to pass laws to give them more power. By the time I came back into office, it was too late. Naruto gives him a good long look, then says, "To repeal them." "Don't give me that look. You should know that the council cannot pass any law without the Hokage's approval. Your word is law. They are only there to advise you, not rule over or beside you. It's apparent you have grown soft over the years." Hiruzen just looked at him for a second before slamming his head on his desk. "Anbu," he called, head still firmly planted in his desk. "Call a council meeting. Tell them they have 10 minutes or they are off the council immediately." The Anbu saluted and left to get their charges. 10 minutes later, council meeting room. The room was alive with the various chatter from the councillors. They were all wearing various sleepwear because of how late it was and how quickly they were summoned. The Hokage came through with his pipe alight and a fire in his eyes. He ignored everyone till he sat in his chair. Once settled, he set his pipe down and silenced everyone with a burst of chakra. When he was certain everyone was settled, he opened the floor. "Excuse me, Hiru," said Hamura before being silenced by a blast of Kai. "That's Hokage-sama to you, understand?" Hamura nodded before rectifying his mistake. "Excuse me, Hokage-sama, but why are we here?" The third leaned back in his chair with a smile that just promised pain. "I'm glad you asked. It has come to my attention that some people have abused their powers. And so, I have come to rectify that mistake. All laws passed between the time of the QB's attack and my reinstatement are henceforth null and void. Everything that deals with shinobi are to have no influence from the civilians. The civilians shall no longer have the ability to pass laws without my approval. And finally, my advisors are to be as stated, advisors. They will no longer have the ability to vote on matters." This caused a huge uproar. There were various shouts and obscenities thrown across the room. Hiruzen watched as the room devolved into near pandemonium. Finally getting annoyed, he blasted his Kai again, silencing everyone. "Hokage-sama, you cannot do that. Who has told you such lies?" shouted Kaharu. Satobi chuckled. "Of course I can. The only person whose power is greater than my own is the daimyo. And as for who reminded me of that fact, well, I'd rather think he would like to introduce himself." The doors swung open and in stepped Naruto with Natsumi hugging his arm. She was always fearful of the council because of their constant attempts to kill her or have her imprisoned. "Who do you think you are? You should know your place. And why is that bitch on your arm?" shouted a pink-haired woman from the civilian council. Naruto stared at all impassively before speaking. "I do not believe that you have the floor, Ama-san, bitch." Tsume had to bite her fist to keep from laughing, as all other clan heads either chuckled or tried their best to not do so. The pink-haired woman went red in the face. She was about to screech at him, but was stopped when the third released more of his Kai. "It is my pleasure to introduce Naruto Senju." That lone sentence caused everyone to shut up. An actual Senju was here. And best yet, he was young and impressionable. This was their chance to get higher in life, to climb the social ladder. All they had to do was convince him to marry one of their daughters. This was the thought shared by all, even the clan heads. They may all be friends, but they still desire to make their clans even greater. "If what you say is true," said a one-armed, one-eyed man, wrapped like a mummy, "then I propose that he be placed in the Clan Restoration Act. Let's put it to a vote." All four. He raised his hand as did almost everyone else. The only one who didn't was the third. Motion passed. Now on to who he will be paired. Why the man was cut off when the third, once again, flared his chakra. "Do I have to keep doing this? Huh? Because let me tell you, it's not easy when I keep getting ignored every 5 seconds. Are you done? No. Well, too bad. If I remember correctly, I was left in charge of all Senju-related affairs after Tsunade left. So the decision isn't up to any of you. And my decision is to let Naruto here decide." Everyone stared at him for his outburst. Everyone shocked that he would deny such a thing. Doesn't he realize that they need more Senju? Konoha as a whole has lost most of its power with the loss of the Senju and recently, the Uchiha. There were only 2 Uchiha left. Mikoto and the younger sibling after Itachi was done. Mikoto wasn't here because everyone is too scared to wake her. The last bastard to wake her was turned into a woman. Clapping was heard and all turned their attention to Naruto. Well said. And as for my choice, I will decide later. I'm too young to be making such a decision as of right now. Maybe later on, I'll accept, as for right now, my answer is no. Senju-sama, started the pink-haired one, you must understand. There needs to be more Senju around. With the loss of the Uchiha in recent years and there only being one other, infertile, Senju makes you the prime candidate to bring us back to our glory. Besides, you shouldn't be hanging out with that thing, it's unbecoming of you. Surely you know of what she holds. Itsumi was downtrodden at the thought of losing her newest friend. I know, said Naruto. And I do not care. Obviously intelligence levels are dangerously low if you believe she is a towering fox with 9 tails. Do any of you see a single tail? How about her being bigger than the monument? Is she in any way releasing copious amounts of yokai? No. Then shut up. I am seriously disappointed in how things are. Hashirama-sama and Tobirama-sama would be ashamed at how far this village has fallen. The only thing that could make this worse is if you had physically harmed her. Itsumi's face was alight with happiness, while the various clan heads were now downtrodden at what he said. They may have not have actively ignored her, but they didn't help her either. The civilians were angry at what he said, but tried to keep themselves from doing anything rash or risk their chances of getting him with their respective daughters. The elders were stoic, but were inwardly sweating. They had just realized who it was that was standing before them. So has the crippled mummy man, Danzo. He was cursing because he knew that all plans and plots to get the now Senju heir would be foolhardy. And if he has taken an interest in the QB's Jinchuriki, the she would be out of reach. However, he thought it may not necessarily be a bad thing. If he somehow unlocks the Mokuton and befriends her, then I will not have to worry about her turning on us. True, she'll be out of my grasp, but this would be better for the good of Konoha. That, and I am not anxious for another beating like he gave me all those years ago. Alright, said Danzo, you will not be forced to partake in the craw, and far be it from me to deny you from hanging out with who you choose. Everyone was startled. The clan heads and Hokage, because they thought he would fight tooth and nail to get the Senju heir. The civilians and the elders, because he gave up so easily. Naruto just nodded. Very well, said the third, still eyeing his rival. Naruto and Itsumi have become genin. Naruto, because he helped oust a traitor, and Itsumi because I have found proof that her tests and grades were tampered with. Be at the academy in a week for team placements. Naruto gave a nod and Natsumi beamed, then the 2 left. After the council was let out, the elders turned to the third. Hiruzen, said Kaharu, is that who we think he is? He nodded. How is he here? He stood up and turned to the window. His seal worked. It had worked perfectly, but no one could look at the scroll that contained him without falling in sadness. We actually have Natsumi-chan to thank for his release. If it wasn't for her and her innate curiosity, I doubt he would have ever been released. I'm going to put them on the same team. Itsumi seems especially attached to him since he doesn't care about her being a Jinchuriki. That's another thing, said Hamura, why have him as a genin when we all know how powerful he is? Saratobi chuckled knowing it's the truth. He requested it. It seems that he has become protective of Natsumi-chan, though he doesn't show it. Konoha best shape up soon, otherwise they'll all receive a massive ass kicking from him. The 3 groaned knowing it's true. Whenever someone was acting like they shouldn't, or more importantly piss him off with it, he would beat them down. I wonder how he'll react to young Uzumaki's living conditions, said a thoughtful Danzo. The 3 became pale and said at the same time, oh shit. But Naruto and Natsumi after they left. Naruto was being led by the arm by an extremely happy Natsumi. He let her drag him through the streets as he took in how Konoha has changed. He was pleasantly surprised that barely anything has changed since his sealing. He was kind of ticked how the streets had trash everyone, then noticed that it seemed to increase as he was being led along further. Natsumi-chan, where are we going? He asked. She turned to him and flashed him a smile, though he could tell it was slightly forced. You're staying with me since you don't have a home, silly, she responded. She then turned her attention back to where she was going, thus missing his frown. Another 5 minutes landed the 2 outside a ratty apartment building. Naruto was frowning heavily now, but Natsumi didn't notice. She led him up the stairs, which almost gave out on 4 separate times, and took him into her apartment. He looked around, taking in the trash everywhere, the mold spots, and the furniture that should be in a garbage pile than a home. He noticed how she went around with practiced ease, his face now in an almost permanent frown. Well, she started, it's not much, but it's home. He took one more look at the apartment. He shook his head, his mind now most certainly made up. You're not staying here, Natsumi-chan. Huh? Why not? She asked. He gave a derisive snort. Look at this place. The stairs nearly gave out on multiple times, there's trash everywhere, mold on the floor and walls, and the furniture is rubbish at best. This place is falling apart at the seams. No, you are most definitely not staying here. She frowned as he pointed out all the flaws in the place. But where else will I stay? Not many people are willing to stay at their place, and even if they are, they'll charge so much money for one night that it would be like a month in a hotel. Naruto almost growled at what the people have done. Natsumi-chan. I know what I will ask probably will be difficult for you to answer, but I need to know what has happened to you. Natsumi suddenly became depressed. You really want to know? He nodded. She sighed and told him. She told him. She told him how she was kicked out of the orphanage at 4, how she starved for days at a time, how no one would help her as if she didn't exist, and how she would get an occasional beating. Occasional meaning once every 2 weeks. They were put into prison, but were bailed out by the council not even 5 days later. He growled at how low the village has fallen. He was happy that was the extent of it. He would have had to drown Konoha as a whole in a maelstrom of tsunamis, glaciers, and forests. He gave a deep sigh. You'll stay with me. I'm a senju, remember? I have access to all my clan's grounds, houses, stores, and any other thing that has been bought by my clan or is funded by it. Gather anything that is salvageable and meet me outside in 5 minutes. She gave a nod as he left. True to his word, they met outside in 5 minutes and he shunshined to his clan compound. He cut his hand without flinching and placed it on the gates. After a minute they swung open, granting them access. He took Natsumi's hand, not noticing as a blush spread across her face. He opened the main building's front doors and took her inside. Natsumi was amazed. From what she had heard, the Senju compound was abandoned and yet it still looks like someone has been living here. Naruto turned to her. Choose any room that is to your liking. I will stay in the master bedroom. Tomorrow I will give you tour of the place. Rest for tonight, you've had a trying experience tonight. She wanted to protest, but a yawn cut her off. She gave an indignant huff and went up the stairs. He shook his head and thought this will prove most interesting. A week later, Academy. Naruto was being led by Natsumi again to the classroom. He was a bit eager to see the next generation of this village's shinobi. They heard the man Naruto recognized as Iruka giving some grandiose speech. Before he could do anything, Natsumi kicked open the door and dragged him into the classroom. He stood up fully and sent her a mock glare, then turned his attention to the class to see that they had all eyes on him. No one, not one of them looked like they would last a day as an actual shinobi. Oh, he knew these types well. They were the kind that thought being a ninja was going to be full of riches and fame. He snorted at their pitiful attempts to characterize him. If he was easy to read, then he would kill himself. He expected nothing less than his 100% in everything he did. He knew that life will hit them hard and that is when they can prove their mettle. Class, said Iruka, welcome our last graduates. The class erupted in a frenzy. Hold on, shouted a wild-looking boy with a puppy, how come that guy got to skip the academy and still graduate? And how is the dead last here? Iruka sighed. Natsumi is here because I have found evidence that her tests were tampered with. So, she was given a second chance and passed. As for Naruto here, he is a special case. If you have any complaints, take them up with the Hokage. Naruto gave a nod as a sign of respect at how the Chunin was able to handle the situation and not reveal anything that he wasn't supposed to. He and Natsumi sat in the back, away from everybody. He raised an eyebrow at this, but considering that she is the current Jinchuriki, she was most likely bullied or shunned by her peers because the adults told them to. He examined all those that had a chance to actually make it if they took this seriously enough. First was a brunette girl wearing a blue shirt, white shorts, and a pair of those sandals he has been seeing every shinobi wearing. She was apparently from the Uchiha clan because of the symbol on her shirt. Next was a shaggy, brown-haired kid with glasses wearing an oversized coat. From what he has learned from his meeting with the Sandaime, this was a member of the Aburum. He couldn't tell if the kid was a boy or girl. Last was a pale-skinned boy with a fake smile, 2 small clothes, and a large scroll. All the others lack the drive to advance and will probably die on their first C-rank mission. He tuned back in to hear the team assignments. The first 6 were unimportant as they were filled with kids that lack motivation or fangirls. Team 7 will be compromised by. Team 7 is consisted of Sakura Haruno, Sayori Uchiha, and Sai Shimura. Your team sensei is Kazumi Hataki, female Kakashi everyone, said Iruka. Sakura screeched at being on the same team as her idol, Sayori groaned and slammed her head on the desk, and Sai just smiled his weird smile that gave most people the hibbity-bajibis. Naruto cocked an eyebrow and thought Danzo reproduced. Never thought I'd live to see the day. Teammate will be Kiba Inuzuka, Hateru Aburum, and Hinata Hyuga. Your sensei will be Kurina Yuhi. Kiba gave a howl of approval on being the only boy on an all-female team. Hateru's eyebrow twitched knowing she is on a team with a pervert. And Hinata looked down at not being on the same team as her crush. Naruto just looked at her, eyebrows still raised. So, the Hyuga stalker isn't on Natsumi's team. Good. Now I won't have to worry about her trying anything. Team 9 is still in circulation. So Team 10 will be Ino Yamanaka, Shikanara, female Shikamaru, and Choji Akimichi. Your sensei will be Asuma Sarutobi. Ino banged her head on the desk for being stuck on a team with, in her own words, lazy ass Shika and big bone Choji. Shika snored and Choji was happy being on the same team as his best friend. Naruto palmed his face. From what I have learned this past week, that would be the new generation of the Ino Shikacho trio. Not good, they're over-specializing the teams. So far we have the traditional assault team, tracking team, and now the capture interrogation team. And finally, Team 11 will have Yakumo Kurama, Natsumi Uzumaki, and Naruto Senju. At Naruto's last name, the class erupted into a chorus of mutterings, gossiping, and yelling. Kiba stood up quickly. How the hell is he a Senju? I thought they were all dead. There were various agreements from the class, mostly the boys because even though Natsumi is the dead last, she is considered one of the prettiest girls in the class and they were jealous at how much attention she was paying Naruto. And it was true, the entire time since their arrival, Natsumi has not taken her eyes off Naruto. Iruka tried to quell his rambunctious class before doing his signature jutsu. Akuma no Atama Jutsu, demon head technique. Shut up you brats. Now as I was saying, Team 11 sensei is Yuga Yuzuki. Now, if you have any complaints, take it up with the Hokage. Good luck in your careers as shinobi. Naruto gave a snort. Like they'll actually survive, he muttered. But it seems Kiba heard him. What was that loser? He growled. Naruto gave him a flat look. Do I have to repeat myself? Sai said, like any of you will survive. This earned him glares from almost everyone in the classroom. But before they could say anything, the senseis entered and started to get their teams. The man with short-cut, shaggy black hair, a beard, and smoking a cigarette called out. Team 10, you're with me. A woman with flowing black hair, crimson eyes, wearing some makeup and an outfit that seems to be made out of bandages spoke next. Team 8, follow me. Soon enough, all that was left was Team 7 and 11, I see. Sakura became ticked that their sensei hasn't showed up yet and started to screech about it. Sayori brooded but kept shooting glances at Naruto, only to turn away with a light blush when he looked at her. Sai was being Sai. Itsumi finally exited her thoughts, which will remain forever undiscovered for my own sanity, and noticed the current situation. Nah, she said to get Naruto's attention. Where's our sensei Naruto-kun? Naruto sighed and looked up. There she is, he said flatly. Looking up, Natsumi found a kunoichi with long purple hair, red lipstick, brown eyes and a red tattoo on her right shoulder, Anbu tattoo. So you finally noticed me, said their sensei. No, Naruto said with a slight yawn, I was just waiting for you to show yourself. Their sensei looked surprised. She knew he was good but didn't think he was that good. Is that right? Then why didn't you say something? Naruto replied flatly, no one asked. This caused her to almost face vault. If she wasn't so high up, then she would have landed on her face or back from what he said. But she managed to right herself in her fall and landed on feet. Okay then, meet me at training ground 19. With that she shunshined away. Naruto got up, grabbed Natsumi's shoulder and left the same way their sensei did. This left Team 7 alone to do what they were doing before. Training grounds 19. Naruto and Natsumi appeared in a swirl of water, which surprised their sensei and teammate because it is supposed to be incredibly difficult to add an element to the Shunshin. Naruto and Natsumi sat down next to their teammate. Alright everyone, started their sensei, let's start off with introductions. My name is Yuga Yuzuki. My likes are Kenjutsu, my boyfriend Hei-kun, and my friends. My dislikes are perverts, rapists, those who look down on kunoichi, and arrogant civilians who think they know how hard shinobi life is. My hobbies are improving my sword techniques, hanging out with my friends, and enjoying my time off. My dreams for the future, well one has already been achieved and the other is to have a family someday. Okay, Yakumo-san, you're next. Yakumo sat up straighter so as to not seem as small or weak. My name is Yakumo Kurama and I'm the heiress of the Kurama clan, but don't treat me differently. My likes are getting better control of my genjutsu, painting, and my team, which is you guys. My dislikes are bullies, rapists, a certain woman who tried to take my dream away, and those who hate art. My hobbies are painting and conditioning my muscles so as to allow me to last longer. My dream is to become the greatest genjutsu user in the elemental nations and shove it in a certain woman's face. The team nodded and Yugao pointed to Natsumi. My name is Natsumi Uzumaki. Not many people 15 and under know this, but I contain the QB no Kitsune. She stopped to take in her team's reactions. Yugao looked surprised that she shared her secret, Yakumo gave her a look of awe, and Naruto gave his nod of approval. Wow, said Yakumo, you must be really strong to hold the QB. Natsumi rubbed the back of her neck, Naruto gave another nod, and Yugao smiled, seeing how the other two reacted to her secret. Anyway, my likes are Naruto-kun, training, ramen, and my friends. My dislikes are arrogant people, rapists, those who can't tell the difference between a biju and the one it's contained in, and how long it takes for ramen to cook. My hobbies are training, eating new types of ramen, and hanging out with Naruto-kun. My dreams for the future are to become the first female Hokage, so as to show that women aren't weak and to one day have a family. At the last part she looks at Naruto and blushes. Naruto went last. My name is Naruto Yuki Senju. I am the son of the Nidaime Hokage, transported to this time after a failed sealing experiment. Do not tell a soul of this information without my express permission, otherwise I will break you. This got him some frightened nodding. My likes are my father, Natsumi-chan, this team, and the village. I dislike the villagers of this time, how weak all the shinobi are, and how everyone seems to think that the shinobi life is filled with nothing but fame and glory. My hobbies are training, reading, studying the stars, and helping those that deserve it. My dreams for the future are to have a family, help you all achieve your dreams, and whip you all into shape. Yugao gave an amused smirk, while Yakumo and Natsumi shot him incredulous looks. So, you think you can teach better than me? Nidaime's son or not, you are still a genin, said Yugao. I don't think I can teach better than you, said Naruto. However, none of you are as strong as you should be. Ikumo-san, you are an heiress and thus represent your clan, but you have trouble walking due to underdeveloped muscles. This is mostly not your fault. You have probably had a sheltered life and from what I was able to dig up on you, you had your powers sealed away. But, you didn't take the initiative to try to condition yourself. You just stewed in your hate and did mostly nothing. You want to be the best genjutsu user, yes? Then take the initiative and you will go far. Itsumi-chan, you had your education and training sabotaged by ingrates that are supposed to be teachers. You have constantly sought out attention and thus resorted to pranks. This ruined your education even further and set you back. However, this helped train your abilities with stealth, infiltration, and trap making. All you need is a little refinement. And last is Sensei here. Now I can't say much because I don't know her well enough, but she is weaker than what she should be due to being in peace for so long. From the look in her eyes, she has seen and experienced a hard life, but has pushed through it. What she lacks is drive. She needs a goal. Tell me if you have a title here that you are renowned for. The other three were shell-shocked at what he said. He pointed out all their flaws and what has led to them. He has also pointed out what they can do to become better. Yugao snapped out of it to answer him. I am known as Konoha's Kenjutsu mistress for my skills with my blade. He gave a nod at that. Then aim higher. Aim to become on par with the Kiri no Shinabigatana Shichinen Shu, 7 ninja swordsmen of the mist. They are renowned as the best. You want to be the best, then you have to beat the best, understand? Good. You couldn't tell, but he had just ignited the fire in each of them. They took his advice and promised themselves to get better and stronger. Yugao then coughed into her hand. Okay, normally I would have you do a survival exercise of some sort to test if you are ready to become genin. However, because of Natsumi-san's and Naruto-san revealing their secrets, I believe that you all are red. She was cut off when Yakumo raised her hand. Yes? She asked. Yakumo seemed to struggle with herself for a bit before relenting. There's something you should know. When my powers were sealed away, they manifested using my negative emotions to become Ido. It continues to try to take over so as to cause havoc. She looked away from everyone, not wanting to see their reactions. So color her surprised when she felt 2 arms wrap around her. She turned to see Natsumi hugging her. Why? She asked in a whisper. Because, started Natsumi, I understand. Being hated for something that is not you. It hurts. But we are here for you. We'll help you. Trust us. Ikumo looked at her sensei who gave a reassuring smile and Naruto who nodded to her. She smiled and returned Natsumi's hug. Alright everyone, said Yugao. Meet me here tomorrow for training at 7:30 am. Don't be late. See ya. She left with a shunshin. The three blinked for a minute to register what just happened. Hey, said Natsumi, you guys want to go get something to eat? Yakumo nodded and Naruto acquiesced. Natsumi smiled, grabbed both of them and proceeded to drag them to her favorite restaurant. Hey Tuchi Jiji, AM ni, I'm back, shouted an enthusiastic Natsumi. AM looked up and smiled at the young girl. Oh, hey Natsumi-chan. Who are these two? Friends of yours? She asked. Yeah, well sort of. They're my teammates, but I'd like to think of them as friends. The hand was placed on her shoulder. Don't worry Natsumi-chan, we are your friends, said Naruto. Enough with the drama already, said Tuchi as he came from the back. Did you come here to eat? Or did you plan on trying out for soap drama? He was bonked on the head by his daughter. Only you and people your age watch those things too, san. Naruto sat down by Natsumi and Yakumo sat beside her as well. "Alright Gigi, I'll have 10 bowls of ramen," said Natsumi. "I'll have 2. 1 chicken and 1 beef," said Yakumo. "I'll have a large chicken and beef with some pork," said Naruto. It didn't take long for their orders to arrive, and when it finally did, Natsumi tore into hers like a starved man. Yakumo ate slower but still faster than normal. Naruto ate normally, taking his time to enjoy his meal. While all this was going on, AM was examining the two that arrived with their favorite customer. Yakumo seemed shy, but was a fun person. But the mystery was their male teammate. She has never seen him before, and she has seen everybody in this village, including Yakumo, so she was being cautious in case he tried anything. But, the more she kept her eyes on him, the more she took in his features and how handsome he was. She didn't realize that she spent 20 minutes just checking out the mystery boy. She was snapped out of it when Naruto looked at her and asked, "Can I help you?" She sputtered a bit, tried to come up with something, then ran into the back. Naruto raised an eyebrow, and Natsumi was wondering what had happened to her Ni-chan. The rest of the time was spent in a comfortable silence, with the occasional light chatter until they decided it was time to go home. But Yugao after she left. Yugao appeared in the Hokage's office immediately after leaving her new team. The third looked up. "Ah, Yugao-chan, why are you here? The tests for the teams are not till tomorrow." She looked at him for a moment, making him unconsciously fidget. "Why didn't you tell me Naruto-san is the son of the Nidaime?" The third stuttered a bit. He wasn't expecting that. Her being pregnant or not wishing to be a sensei, sure. He could expect that. Even here telling him she is actually a lesbian and wanted him to break it to hate, he could believe. It isn't the first time someone did something like that. He was not prepared for her to be in the know of who Naruto really was. I don't know what you're talking about," he said, inwardly cursing his stutter. "Cut the crap. Naruto told us himself during team introductions." "Why no, how is he here?" He said something about a failed experiment. "Now tell me," she said in a firm voice. "Here is inside." He could never say no to a woman when she was like this. It was one of the things his wife used to hold over him. Naruto Yuki Senju is the son of the Nidaime Hokage. He was a prodigy that outshone all others. Even Minato-kun. He has the same control over water as the Nidaime did and has the Hyoten thanks to his mother being an exiled Yuki clan member. He was so skilled that by the time he was 13, he could fight his father at an equal level. I remember watching their spars with awe. He was always calm and collective. Very stern when he felt was needed. And he did all he could to protect those he thought precious. In fact, if I wanted to, I could pass on the hat to him. He has the needed experience in war, he has the skill, the power, and the intellect. But the bastard refuses. It isn't fair. I spent nigh on 60 years in this confounded office, only to be brought back when my foolhardy successor goes and gets himself killed. Now, the only one who is fit for the job doesn't want it. I know he knows of the paperwork. Damn you Minato. Damn you Naruto. Damn you both to heck. At the end of his rant he banged his head on the table and proceeded to release some sobs and bang his fist on the table continuously. Yugao sweat dropped at how her leader was acting. She sighed, pinched the bridge of her nose and left the same way she entered. Hiruzen immediately took a peek to check if she was still there. When he was satisfied that she was gone, he dug into his desk and retrieved a familiar orange book. He let out a giggle and said to himself, finally. I thought she'd never leave. The hidden Anbu could only sweat drop her face palm. Next day, team evaluation. Hiruzen sat at his desk as firm as he was when in war. Well, that was the outside. On the inside he was weeping and thinking to himself one day. Just one day for myself. Is that too much to ask? He sighed and said, now that all of you are here, let's start with the evaluations. A random Jonin stepped forward. Team 1 failed. They had no coordination and tended to try to show off with every movement they made. Team 2 failed. Kept tripping over themselves. Team 3 passed. Well, rough around the edges, they show promise. Team 4 failed. Don't even get me started. Team 5 failed. Pitiful. That's all I have to say. Team 6 failed spectacularly. They kept worrying about everything that may or may not happen, then pissed themselves when I had one of my snakes chase them onto the field, said an irate Anko. Everyone else didn't know who to feel bad for. The kids are Anko. Team 7 passed, said Kazumi. This shocked everyone. While as of now, they tend to fight over who is leader, with some training and discipline, they would make a powerful force. Team 8 passed. With a little time, I am confident that I can at least tone down Kiba's perverseness. Hinata needs a boost in her confidence and self-esteem. And Hatori needs to socialize more. By being on this team, Hinata will get that boost she needs from her teammates, Hatori will socialize more, and with 3 women keeping an eye on him, Kiba's perverseness will drop. Yosh. You already know of my team Hokage-sama. Team 10 passed. While Lino is self-centered, Shika is lazy, and Chaoji can't put down his chips for 5 minutes, they show a lot of promise as the next Ino Shikacho. Team 11 passed. They hadn't even known each other for 10 minutes and yet told their teammates of their darkest secrets. This, instead of tearing them apart, has brought them closer together and given each other acceptance. Most were surprised at the dem they mean Natsumi shared being a Jinchuriki. Saratobi nodded his head, expecting nothing less from his sensei's son. Alright, he said. All those that failed their teams may go on as before. For the rest, I expect all of you to train your teams. That means you Kazumi-chan. Naruto-kun has pointed out to me that we have gotten soft in our time of peace. This cannot stand. If we are to keep our clients, then we must show that we are indeed the strongest. Dismissed. So this part ends here. I hope you guys enjoyed this video, so quickly like this video for second part of this series. And comment down below your thoughts about this series. And now it's time for me to go, bye.